Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of The Gavel, featuring attorney Anna Toledo. Ms. Toledo is the senior attorney and general counsel to Targeted Justice. She has a background in constitutional and environmental law and is an experienced litigator, including 2 cases at the U.S. Supreme Court. And here's Ms. Toledo.
Hello, everyone. Today is March 20th, 2026, and I come to you, welcome you to episode 44 of The Gavel, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the latest news on our quest to end government weaponization. I bring you the latest news from Washington, D.C., from my mission for freedom that I have been carrying out since November of 2025. I'm your host, Anna Toledo, an attorney with more than 30 years experience litigating in First Amendment law, environmental, and civil rights. I have moved to Washington, D.C. to fight for freedom for all. My goal is to expose the criminal, illegal, unacknowledged special access program that has obliterated the life of so many and has so many of us living in a modern day slavery. I'm not going to quit until everyone is free. So this week, the truth avalanche continues. Unfortunately, along with the good, there is bad, but I guess that is when the good things happen, right? So we really continue to pray for God to hover over those good people that have our best interest at heart and that are fighting for our freedom, even though they have no clue of what really being in this horrific program entails. So please let me help me defeat censorship. Like, share, and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and it makes a world of a difference, particularly because when you share it, maybe there is that one normie that can ignite the flame and help us spread it among that sector of the population that has no clue that this is being carried out with United States taxpayer money. But before I go any further, I want to invoke divine protection over us today. Let's see if the criminals are going to let me do it. Oh, it seems they don't want to let me do it. This is not it. Interesting. Okay. Well, I'll read it anyways because I have it here with me, which is I have to thank my dear friend Jill. She sent me this beautiful verse from excuse my pronunciation, Nehemiah 4:14, and it reads like this: After I looked things over, I stood up and said to the nobles, the officials, and the rest of the people, don't be afraid of them. Remember the Lord, who is great and awesome, and fight for your families, your sons and your daughters, your wives and your homes. So the struggle for justice, the struggle against evil has existed forever. Just yesterday, I listened to Major Prather say something really wonderful, which was like, if you don't want to be a slave, you have to be a warrior, something like that. And that's exactly what it is. I could only think of when slavery was abolished in the United States and in the world, had it not been for those people that were willing to risk it all for freedom for all, then how much longer would freedom would have taken? And the same thing happens with us. How much longer is it going to take if we don't, if you don't take the plunge for courage and fighting for freedom? And it doesn't really take that much. It only takes one decision. So for those of you that haven't heard what's been going on in Washington, in the swamp of Washington, D.C. this week, I'm going to start. Let me see how I can do this, because so slides here, add to stage. Oh, there. Now they decided to work. Today was one of those days that it was just really a really hard targeted day for me. So I'm going to ask you for your indulgence in this. Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Okay. The first thing that I want to say is that I went, as you all know, Tulsi Gabbard went, all eyes were on Tulsi this week. She had 2 hearings in the Senate Select Intelligence Committee and in the House Intelligence Committee. One was Wednesday, one was Thursday. I went to the Wednesday one. I woke up at 5:30 in the morning, and I was there by 8, because sometimes you get there and the line is so long that, like, if you get, this hearing was for 10 a.m., but if you get there, say 9:30, sometimes the line is so long that you cannot get in, and I didn't want to risk it. So I was there by 8 in the morning, and it was really interesting because they did the entire psyop with the bomb sniffing dogs, and the people, those cops, the Capitol Police, they treat you as if you're a criminal, and they were like they're a correctional officer. They don't have a smile for you. They're just rude, and they just assume everybody there's a criminal. So they did the sniffing dogs, and I'm used to getting the dogs. So here, all eyes were on Tulsi. As you can see, this is so they were so scared. There was more people in the panel. It was Patel, it was the DAI general, it was Tulsi, and it was Radcliffe. And when you can see here is that they made a whole set of tables supposedly for the press so that the public could not be close to them and couldn't say anything to them, or they think you have to go, for those of you that haven't been there, when you enter these buildings, you go through metal detectors, and it's just like you're going into the airport. So I don't understand the whole thing. It's anyway, so it was a tad exaggerated. But what was interesting, which you can see on the second picture, nobody was taking picture of the ugly men. They were only taking pictures of Tulsi, because she was the one that everybody was interested in listening to. And what I found really interesting, which I have to say, is even like Patel was there, and if they asked him questions, that was a lot. People, they treated him like, like, we don't want to hear from you, like a second-class citizen. Anyways, so Tulsi spoke about the threats to the nation, about drug cartels, illegal immigration, and the real threats, the real terrorist threats to the homeland. What did she not mention? She didn't mention the white supremacists, the patriots, the COVID opposers, the parents fighting in school boards, those, or the J6ers. Those were the people that FBI's Ray, was categorizing, and the Catholics too, as a terrorist, as a threat to the nation. So now she's putting, she came in to read her intelligence report for 2026, and what are the threats and what are the things that need. And the problem was that the day before, Mr. Joe Kent had submitted his letter of resignation, which I have to say, I had seen Mr. Kent in a prior hearing I had been to, and he comes across to me as a compassionate, very nice man. Nothing like Patel or the rest. He came across to me, and I remember I gave him a card, and I just asked God, because that day that was one of the first hearings I went to, and that day I forgot to bring my flyers with me. I did bring my cards, but I forgot to bring the the flyers because I didn't know I was going to be able to see him. And I just blurted out and I said, little girls are being microwaved by the CIA. And he was surrounded by women like in his staff. And he said, he took my card. He said, I'm going to look into this. So I don't know. Let's hope he blows the whistle on that. And regarding the testimony, I think it was pretty much a nothing burger in terms of she just read what was on the report. And it doesn't pertain to us because, as I said, you know, all of those of us that have been categorized, you know, like Pam Bondi says, we're enemy of the government because we criticize the government. Well, that's not Tulsi's opinion. We don't present a threat, just like Pam Bondi says. Anyways, I can't wait for the day that she gets substituted for somebody like Sidney Powell, who is a real attorney, like an honorable attorney, right? A real warrior. Well, here we go. So what I can tell you that didn't get reported in the news was this, or maybe it did, but I didn't hear it. And it was that Mr. Patel told the Select Intelligence Committee that the FBI did not get the records, the phone records of anyone without a court warrant. And that's a lie because we know that they use, I guess that what he said is, well, a FISA warrant, right? Because a FISA court, even though what they issue are unconstitutional warrants against American citizens in violation of the Fourth Amendment. Well, maybe that's what he meant, but he made it seem like it was an Article 3 court, which requires that the FBI criminal that requests the access to your records prove to the court that there is probable cause that you are committing crimes. That is the minimum requirement that the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution that applies to United States citizens and legal residents. We have a right to that. We have a right that the FBI criminal has to prove beyond its probable cause that you are in the commission of a crime in order to obtain your phone records. And of course, we know they're not doing that. However, so I got out of my committee and I went around and I gave, since I knew that the next day the House Intelligence Committee was going to be interrogating her. Well, I went to various offices of various of the representatives that are in that committee, French Hill and Rick Crawford, who is, you know, head of that chair of that committee. And I can attest that he now knows because I delivered to his hands the affidavits of those of you that sent them to me that are the civilian victims of Havana syndrome, as well as the civilian registry. Now he knows, and he cannot deny that he doesn't know that it's not just diplomats and government officials. Okay? So, you know, I am going to continue doing the same thing I am doing every day because one day something's got to give, and I am not going to stop. I am going to be relentless. Anyways, I also gave it to 3 important journalists that I am not going to mention here, but it is my hope that at least one of them looks into it, and you know, who knows. Anyways, let's see if one of them musters the courage. However, the next day, in both days, at least in the Select Committee, when they asked Tulsi about the Havana syndrome, she's like, let's talk about it because afterwards they were going to have a secret meeting where people were not going to be there. Okay. So she did say to the people in the House Committee that the report, the intelligence community assessment should be withdrawn. And Mr. Patel said the same thing, and Radcliffe deferred to her. So that's that. That's Miss Tulsi. More will be revealed. I can't tell you that she was grilled by senators of the Democrat side, and I felt bad for her because Her report said, and I'm not going to go discuss the war because I want you to understand one thing. I am laser focused on our mission for freedom, on my mission for freedom. And whether or not you agree with me, like right now, I think the President Trump is doing horrific things with, he wants, I'm going to talk about it in a little while. He wants a clean approval of FISA 702, which is so hypocritical because he's the one that was saying that they used FISA against me. And he knows they used him against his friends and Susie Wiles and Kash Patel. But he wants to have the weapon for his use against his enemies. And that is hypocrisy. And I call it as it is. I don't care. I don't have loyalty. I'm not a fanatic. I am a thinking person whose only goal here is to end government weaponization and the slavery we are subjected to. So if you don't like it that I'm criticizing Donald Trump before when I thought he was going to help us, I don't care because I'm just going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I think that is a disservice to the community. Everybody should know exactly what is happening. And what is happening is betrayal by many people, starting with Kash Patel, who in his book, Government Gangster, says that the first thing needed to end the deep state was to create a new church committee. He said that. He said that FISA had to be done away with. And now he is begging for FISA to be renewed. So that is hypocrisy, and I'm going to call it out every time I can because they should not get away with thinking that we're stupid and we believe his story now when it's completely contradictory because they can affect our memories, but I have a very clear memory of the exact words. Anyways, let's go to the next here. Mullin was confirmed as a DHS. Kristi Noem was taken out, and I really believe that Kristi Noem had her little vengeance when I told you before, like 2 weeks ago, that before she left, she says, I'm going to denounce the secret skiff here in DHS, which is probably from where they are imparting all the instructions to all the fusion center criminals that make our lives miserable. So this guy was, he had a fallout that I'm going to show you in a little while with Rand Paul. And he just, he really showed that he doesn't have, he's not necessarily a very classy guy. And Fetterman, the vote that Rand Paul didn't give him, Fetterman gave him. So he got confirmed. And I just want to show you the beginning of the exchange with Rand Paul, because I think you should listen to the whole thing, because it's very telling that if this is the person that is going to be in charge of DHS, well, people should have a little concern.
Sheer lack of any kind of Sheer lack of any kind of self-awareness that you're going to be leading thousands of men and women who will have the use of force. And there's been great questions in our country about how that will be used. And you think a violent attack is just fine. So I guess my first question is, do you think that justifying that kind of violence sets a good example for the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol?
Mr. Chairman, first of all, I didn't know the extent of your damage. When the phone call was made, I made it to you and I tried to talk to you. You didn't engage at all. In fact, you said, get your paperwork in. It's got to be 3 days in between.
You offered no apology.
Sir?
And you offer no apology today. And
there you have it. They're not friends. And I'm going to give you a really good reframe here. Well, guess what? Senator Rand Paul, supervises the Department of Homeland Security. So this is going to be great for us to be writing to him and calling him, because he's going to have a lot of enthusiasm to be supervising the actions of Mr. Mullin here. So I always want to see things as a win-win situation, and I think this is a win-win for us. And so more shall be revealed, but for now, I think it's better than they were friends, because Rand Paul is not going to have any incentive to cover up for Mullin. right? That makes sense. Anyways, so the next thing that is really good is that Catherine Henrich is finally talking about the FBI criminals. You watch, it's going to be a very little time. If she continues in this path, she's going to connect the dots between Havana syndrome, electromagnetic weapons attacks, and FBI criminals. Why? Well, she interviewed Mr. Michael Caputo, who was has been investigated by the FBI, and they tried to entrap him in 2024, interrogating him over his emails, even though they had already obtained the emails from the companies, okay, supposedly as part of the Russia investigation. Let me just play this for you.
This week, on Straight to the Point, a longtime Trump loyalist, Michael Caputo, shares a never-before-seen FBI subpoena and warrant targeting him under the Biden administration. FBI Director Kash Patel recently confirmed that his records, those of Susie Wiles, now the White House Chief of Staff, were also secretly collected by the Biden-era FBI as part of an investigation into President Trump. Other Trump loyalists were targeted, and Caputo says the surveillance continues to this day, and he brings the receipts.
Do you have any clue of how amazing this is for us? Because these are prohibited access files, just like the Christine Crowder ones. If they gave them to him, they have to give them to you. This is why I was rejoicing when I saw that Catherine Henrich is finally paying attention to the criminality, the FBI. So Michael Caputo, he's a longtime confidant and advisor to President Trump. He showed her never seen before FBI subpoena and sweeping federal search warrant that targeted him during the Biden administration. He detailed the horrifying fallout of the secret Biden-era investigation over his Ukraine reporting and, get a load of this, anti-weaponization policy work that stayed active even inside the Trump administration, and the devastating toll it took in his family. I have no doubt they hacked him. Who knows if they're doing directed energy weapons on him, because when you use the words devastating toll it took on his family, maybe they killed his cat. Who knows? Or his dog. I don't know the details, but I urge you to check out Catherine Henrich's entire video and compare notes. Most importantly, because these are the documents that are hidden in the prohibited access files. He said that, Caputo said, they've told me that there are photos of me praying in my file and that I'm referred to as a radical traditionalist Catholic, RTC. So here's the thing, because these FBI people are Satanists, they cannot, that's why I tell you, we have to pray in the car. I'm always praying, singing, worshiping, because that is the one thing these criminals cannot stand, because they are devil worshipers. They are immoral, and most of them with their wokeness, they just, they just don't know right from wrong, period. Anyways, Kash Patel confirmed that his records were collected, Mr. Caputo's records. And let me just show you this here. Kash Patel also admitted in the hearing I was in, and I have to commend Senator Wyden from Oregon, who completely grilled him on this, because they are purchasing your geolocation data. What he says, it's to prevent terrorism. No, it's to gang stalk you. So we're going to talk about that a little later, but he admitted it. The champion that was going to end the deep state with the you know what I'm going to do with my government gangster? Well, no, I'm going to keep it, because one day I hope to cross-examine him with it. But for now, it's all blatant lies. Well, maybe they were truth when he said them, but he completely changed his story. Anyways, he did admit that he is purchasing the geolocation data, and that is illegal because in order, and the Supreme Court has confirmed the Fifth Circuit saying it is illegal for a law enforcement agency to be acquiring geolocation data without an Article 3 court warrant, period. I don't care if people can buy, other people can buy it. If you're law enforcement, you cannot do it without warrant, period. So that's what he's becoming a criminal. I'm sorry, that's my opinion. Because when he's doing things that he said were criminal, and then he's doing them, what does that make him, right? Anyways, Caputo said that the surveillance continues to this day. That's he's targeted. And that's why I urge you all to watch him, because I haven't watched the entire interview, but clearly he's targeted. Let me play this for you.
Were you targeted by the FBI under the Biden administration?
I was. In fact, the federal criminal investigation was opened by the FBI in the first quarter of 21. So the entire Biden presidency, I was a target of FBI investigation.
Why were you targeted by the FBI under the Biden administration?
I believe I was targeted because I was the person in the policy department in 2023 during the Trump re-election and for 2024 that was responsible for anti-weaponization policy development.
There you have it. He's still targeted because it's like the Hotel California. Once you're in, you're not, they don't take you out. They don't. Anyways, so I think this is very encouraging for us because they're giving us more tools for when we have to go knock and petition for redress and petition for a court order to order them to produce our prohibited access files. There we have it. They gave them to him. They have to give them to us. You cannot discriminate just because he's close to Trump. Anyways, let's go for the FISA update. Good things and bad things are happening. Boebert and Mike Lee are still, they are holding on to their word, right? This was what Boebert today said, get a warrant. You want to renew FISA 702 as it pertains to U.S. citizens and residents, get a warrant. And then here we have this unfortunate character by the name of Jim Jordan from Ohio that, as you know, he is the chair of, get a lot of this, of the Government Weaponization Committee. How many of you wrote to him when he was doing those hearings during the Biden era? And he just focused on the Hunter Biden laptop, and he didn't care about the fact that people are being tortured with microwaves and spied on without probable cause or even reasonable suspicion. He didn't care. Well, the Federal Air Marshal's account explained that he has two former FBI gatekeepers that are his aides in his office, that they make sure that he is, he keeps within his guardrails. Now he says that he supports a clean extension of the nation's warrantless surveillance powers, a reversal after he voted against the bill when it last came before Congress. On Wednesday, he said everything from reforms to how the spy tool can be used to the conflict with Iran contributed to his shifting position. They're making it all about Iran now. It's such a great tool. But he doesn't talk about American citizens because he's become another criminal. Anyways, he says it's a totally different context today. Now, Jordan is not alone in his reversal. Unfortunately, Donald J. Trump, the president of the United States, who had said that he opposed FISA because it had been used to spy on him. Well, he wants a clean renewal for 18 months. How convenient, because he wants to be able to go after his enemies without having to go get court warrants. When it was for him, it was bad. But now he wants to use it. But then he wants it to stop if somebody else wins the election. Because at the rate that they're going, I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to lose because he has, betrayed everybody from the J6ers who are targeted and don't understand that they're part of this program to the government weaponization that he left behind and didn't care anymore. He's to people like Tina Peters that are rotting in a jail because Pam Bondi doesn't do anything to get her out. So anyways, you have John Ratcliffe, who is literally praising the senators and the representatives that want to be renewing the FISA 702. And I want you to listen to him because he is, it's very hard to have good words. So I'm not going to say any. I let you just think them. I'm just going to play this for you.
Congressman, thank you, and thank you for highlighting this issue. So the president is in favor of an 18-month clean reauthorization of FISA 702, and I would add to that, I'm heartened by the fact to hear that the chairman of this committee and the ranking member are in agreement with that. And I know there's bipartisan support for that, and there should be. And I know this is an important vote for you to take, but I would ask that you all consider when you do that, when you look at the fact that former DNIs and former CIA directors and former FBI directors and DIA directors and NSA directors across Republican and Democrat administrations are in support of FISA 702 in its current form. These are the people that are making the decisions to keep Americans safe. And
you see this criminal, he's a government criminal. He knows that little girls, that his agency, under his watch, his hands are soaked in blood because he knows that people are getting tortured with the weapons they operate, with the V2K they beam at you. He knows it. And he's saying, no, don't do it for 18 months. Do it forever, because he wants to guarantee the existence of the criminal program, because 702 is essential to carry out the psychological operation part of the program. And this is why I need you, every single one of you. We have to unite in this. Let me explain. I'm sorry if I repeat myself for those of you that already know this, okay? Let me explain why this is so crucial to them. Having the interference of our text messages, emails, phone calls. This is how these criminals make our life miserable. Let me give you an example. Today, I was trying to get an ID here in Washington, D.C. So I called the people, please send me this by email. I wouldn't get the email because the FISA, they have a FISA thing and they're interfering with my emails. Then I tried to send an email to get it printed and it wouldn't, the FedEx people wouldn't get it because they're interfering with it because they have this. This is how they intercept your resume to that job application you're sending, and they call or they have their little, minions out there putting in the bad word for you. This is how they exactly know the cake that you order, so they make sure it comes out really bad because they make sure it goes, it's just the way they make your life a living hell. We must stop FISA 702 as it pertains to not requesting a warrant to intercept the communications of United States persons. So let me just play for you this wonderful video that our beloved volunteer prepared for.
FISA, Section 702. This is the statute without criminal predicate that allows the government criminals to spy on you. With this provision, they listen and read every one of your electronic communications, even without obtaining a warrant. from an Article 3 court that requires a showing of probable cause. This is the mechanism that your gang stalking has depended on. It has been used to intercept your emails, phone calls, and text messages. This has been a gross violation of your rights under the 4th and 5th Amendments. While FISA 702 is set to expire on April 20th this year, President Trump has asked Congress for a blank renewal for 18 months. We cannot let this happen. It's time for us to come together and keep pushing until our government listens to us. Your voice matters because you matter. If it wasn't true, we wouldn't be targeted in the first place. The criminals attack us because they want to silence us. Not anymore. It's time to get loud. Call the White House and let them know to not renew FISA 702. Write a letter to your congressman and congresswoman, but keep it under 3 paragraphs. Don't know what to say? No problem. We have a sample letter which you can utilize as a template. When writing your letter, while using our template, personalize it. Let them know who you are and how this unconstitutional provision has been used to obstruct every aspect of your life. We also have websites, which makes it easier for you to search and find your member by state along with their address and contact information. Spread the word. We need as many people as possible to share this information with other victims of government weaponization. Rather it's on your social media or face-to-face. We need to spread this information far and wide and get this program shut down once and for all. So what are you waiting for? You don't want to regret not being part of making history. Get started, get moving, and more importantly, get loud.
I have to thank Sean because he's getting so much better. See, he's getting so much better every day, and I just have to thank him because his work is priceless to us. Well, for those of you that say, well, I'm not going to send a letter because my targeting is going to it might get worse. Are you willing to be a slave for the rest of your life? This is the moment to have your voice heard. Okay. And if we do it as a community, they're gonna have to listen. So please, I put in the chat the links for you to determine who is your representative or your senator. But I can tell you some easier way. You can ask Rock, who are the senators and representatives, for example, for zip code 216? And it give me their phone numbers, their emails, and their office address and their website. You don't even have to look for it. Just with that prompt, you can do it. Okay. So aside from telling them that they cannot do a clean renewal of FISA 702 and instead demand an Article 3 court warrant for U.S. persons and legal residents, you must also, and I'm putting it here in the chat, you must also demand that they support the bipartisan bill that is called the Government Surveillance Reform Act of 2026, because this would preclude Patel from buying the geofencing, geolocation information used to follow you around, okay? That would preclude that. And that is a bipartisan bill that was presented by Senators Ron Wyden and Mike Lee and Representatives Warren Davidson and Zoe Lofgren. So not only will you write very short, say, look, I am a victim of government weaponization. I demand that FISA 702 as it is stops. I demand that if I'm going to be spied upon, that the FBI agent prove to the court probable cause, Article 3 court. Okay, enough is enough. So please do it today. We cannot wait any longer because they're saying Mike Johnson, who's also a deep state operative, said he wants it renewed a week before it expires. It is supposed to expire on April 20th. It's like I had this mentor who taught me, in order for people to respect you, you have to make them respect you. You have to demand your representative and your senator that they do what is the constitutional thing, the right thing, that they stop selling out to the criminals behind this. And so that's just my thing. I'm counting on you because this is a community initiative. If you don't do it, it doesn't matter how much work I do. I need you to write to your representative and tell them no to FISA, no to the clean renewal of FISA 702. Demand no warrant, no surveillance of Americans. Okay, so you have there. You have no excuse because I gave you all the information. Anyways, I'm gonna do some housekeeping again, which is that the criminals continue deleting subscribers from the newsletter. Please check if you were subscribed. Check, because many people have been unsubscribed. Many people have unsubscribed from me because probably they don't like my opinions. But you know what? It doesn't matter because my loyalty is to shutting down this program. My loyalty is to peace. I don't want children dead. I don't care about their religion. I don't care about their ethnicity. I don't want a single child dead, or a single human for that matter. So, of course, I'm opposed to war. Of course, I'm opposed to war because there's no reason for war. Anyway, so if you don't like that, well, yeah, I've had already a couple of people unsubscribe from my Meta because of that. Well, it's your loss because I'm here fighting for you. Anyways, I remind you that at noon Eastern time, I have to get more disciplined about it. The thing is, I don't have enough minutes and hours in the day, but at noon, if you can take the time to do a 5-minute prayer, concentrated meditation. The targeting program is over. Now I am now free. Targeting program is over. I am now free. It's happening every day at noon Eastern time. So calculate your time zone. It's demonstrated, research has demonstrated that this collective intent has worked before. So why not do it? Like the initiatives I'm telling you, it doesn't cost you anything and it can make a huge difference. So before I go, I want to thank Pami. Yes, I'm going to try to contact Mr. Caputo. As you know, my communications are so interfered with. That is why I am going personally to the offices of these representative senators, and then I see journalists in these hearings, and I approach some of them, or I approach them. I just talk to everybody. I in the cafeteria yesterday, I talked to a woman. She works for a medical publication, and I gave her the anomalous health incident civilian report, and maybe nothing happens out of it, but maybe something does. You never know who's going to be the person that'll have the courage to expose it. Okay. So, but Autumn, like right now, what we're doing is we're trying to shut down the weapons. I have never, ever spoken, and I have CT scans, evidence, like real evidence, like evidence that you can actually take to a court of law. CT scans and x-rays, everything. I don't talk about myself. I don't talk about my implants. I talk about directed energy weapons. I talk about FISA 702 because it is the good of the community that I am pursuing. I am not, going in there saying, no, because I have a W-band and I don't know. No, that's not the issue. The issue is to shut down a program. And not everybody has, a lot of people have implants, but that's not what I'm focusing in. And because they also they're still very uneducated about it. And they think it's, you're talking fantastical things. Remember, now that the United States has admitted that they operate directed energy weapons. Now that Havana syndrome is widely accepted, it is no longer a myth. That is where we have to get on that train. I told you when I first got here, and you can look at my video, when I got inspired, when God put it in my heart to move to DC, it was about FISA 702 and Havana syndrome. And now we have the directed energy weapons that have been admitted by Hegseth after Richard Lighthouse appeared on the day after Richard appeared on Major Prater's show. That is no coincidence. They were not going to admit it. So I really hope that each and every one of you watching, and get 3 of your TI friends, at least 3, and their parents, maybe like me and my mom and my dad. I don't have my mom and dad, but your parents, your siblings, your cousin, have other people do the same as you do. Okay, I'm going to check here if there are any questions before Hi, Jim. So good to have you here. You've been excommunicated from modern society. No, but you know what? Hi, Shonda. We have to force them. Like Ken might be happy. Ken Stroud. Yesterday, I went to French Hill's, Representative French Hill's office, and the receptionist knew him by name. I said, one of his constituents has Havana syndrome, and he is on the committee, on the House Intelligence Committee. I said, this is something that needs to be addressed, because nobody can discriminate against civilians just because they are not federal employees. So, yeah, he knew Ken's name and last name. So, yeah, it's okay to disagree. It's okay to disagree. The point is here, there's one thing that unites us, and that is our desire to shut down this criminal program and to be free again. And I don't think that any of you should have a more important goal in your life than this, because this is not just about you. It's about your children and your generations to come, and your relatives and generations to come. We have survived so far because God has given us the strength to do this. So it is our duty to do our best to shut them down. Okay. No one works harder. Thank you, Mr. Lighthouse. Thank you. Yeah, I'm going to stay here. I really do appreciate all of you that have supported me here, because I don't have a deadline. I'm not, that's what the criminals want. And I'm not leaving here until we're free. I work every day to shut down this criminal program, and I am not going to leave because I refuse to live like a slave. So please remember to send your Privacy Act request. Please you can copy from the Targeted Justice website. This is a very important tool that you have to demand that they not only look in the central record system, because that's where they have, old stuff. No, you demand that they do that they search in the prohibited access files in the Sentinel. And since they're not going to pay attention to you, you're going to have to do an appeal and said, it seems you did not read my Privacy Act request. I demanded that you look in the prohibited access files, because guess what? The Privacy Act does not give you the authority to decide in which files you're going to look for my information. If you have information on me, I have a right to demand that you correct it, because if it's wrong information that I am a terrorist, I have a right to demand that you correct it. Okay? So, let me see. Thank you, Shonda. Thank you. Let me see if there's any questions. If not, I will be letting you go for today. I hope I see you next week with better news. And let's just, I don't even know how to have a count of how many people have sent the request to Congress, but when they start budging on it, is that, the power is in the numbers. Our power is in the numbers. It's hundreds of thousands of targeted individuals. If you can get the J6er people, because they are being surveilled, they don't know it. They think they're immune from this, because they're a special, like, elite class of targets. No, all their communications are being spied upon, and they need to know that. So I think Trump has betrayed many of us. Michael, I hear you. And you know what? I don't have qualms saying it. He has betrayed the victims of government weaponization. It's a shame. He's one of them. He has lived it in his own life. And now he doesn't care for all of us that are victims of government weaponization. And the J6ers are very upset at him for that too. Yeah, we're waiting for the church committee. You're right, Judy. We're waiting for it. It's got to happen. Maybe Thomas Massey will make it happen. It's a shame I don't have people in his district that are writing to him, but he definitely, I went to see his office, and the people are the nicest out. They're really, really nice, but I guess he's got his hands full. I did show the civilian affidavits to the people in the House Intelligence Committee and to one very good journalist. Okay. So, I keep them with utmost confidentiality because of the trust that the people that send them to me. But at the same rate, we need for the information, because what I say is now they know. Now they know, I know that Rick Crawford now knows because I saw him reading through the documents I gave him. They cannot ignore civilian victims. And we're fighting for NIH to recognize them and to issue guidance, CDC issue guidance for the diagnostic. But see, CDC hasn't even issued guidance for vaccine injury of the people that have died or being injured with a COVID jab. And that's thousands and thousands of people. So, we so far we have 16, I believe, in our, or 17 in our civilian registry. So we have to fight it, but they have not been even willing to do it for the COVID jab. So, okay, I don't see any more questions. Where did your question go? I did not see your question. I'm sorry. It's up to us. Yeah, it's definitely up to us. I'm gonna try to contact that gentleman because it will be very useful, I guess, for both of us to share notes. But you know how it is. I call places, they don't let me get through. So, yeah, let me see packages. I can't get packages anymore. Tampered with. Yeah, well, one of the things, I got a package today that wasn't tampered with because the person that sent it to me did a lot of scribbles and put tons of tape on it and scribbles and took pictures of it so that if the package was tampered with, we would both know. I just put it out there. Okay. Yes. Okay. Well, I don't see any more questions, so I hope to see you next week. I hope to have better news, but at least keep watching the entire debate. We have Boebert, we have Mike Lee, we have Wyden on our side. Those Oregon TIs, please write to Wyden and tell him, you have no idea how horrific it is to be illegally surveilled without being a criminal, being a law-abiding American that the Constitution is supposed to protect. So, and always at the end say, I am willing to testify before Congress regarding the abuses I have been subjected to as part of the abuses under FISA 702. Okay? And thank you, everybody, for being here. I hope to see you next week. this is like my happiest day of the week because I get to meet with all of you, even if it's from so far away. And see you next week. Thank you.